Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles post-game show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and we are here to talk about the NFC East champion Philadelphia Eagles, who dominate the Dallas Cowboys 41-7. Saquon Barkley tops 2,000 yards. We'll talk about it all. Tanner McKee getting fitted for his gold jacket potentially. Lots to get to. And we have Super Bowl champion Vinny Curry. We have Jamie Lynch. We have Fran Duffy to unpack it all as the Eagles now sit back and root against the Vikings and the Detroit Lions in hopes of still having a chance to get that number one seed. But let's go around the horn. Big takeaways from this 41-7 domination. Vinny, we will start with you.
Oh, man, my biggest takeaway is, man, hats off to you guys, not playing to the level of competition. And then my guy, Saquon, Mr. 2K.
I mean, we got to get, the 2K Saquon is
2K
a different
Saquon.
level. Fantastic. Jamie, how about you?
I do have to bitch and moan about one thing. I'm going to start the show off negative.
Okay, let's hear it.
CJ clearly hates Quinyon Mitchell, and I am not here for it, CJ. The man's got a Defensive Rookie of the Year award to win. You're out here stealing interceptions from him.
And you could see Quinyon's head just
Quinyon was
Looking at his hands, bro.
He was running like this, arms out, and CJ has to swoop
he already had the pick six in that game. Did he need another one? Yeah.
He's glory hog.
The worst part about it is that CJ had no business being in that situation. Like, based off the route concept and the coverage that it seemed like they were playing, CJ should have been somewhere else on the field, and he was Johnny on the spot and just took the ball away. Very unfair for Quinyon.
Yeah, poor Jamie. That's a tough one.
Vinny came in right away. He was like, man, your boy was sad.
That was crazy.
All right, Fran, how about you? Big takeaway.
I mean, this is just another week where this defense was opportunistic. 4 turnovers here in this game after 5 last week. I think when you're looking at defensive success in the postseason, so much of that can be when you look at the teams that are able to take advantage of other teams' mistakes. They're able to get those turnovers. Those big plays can really tilt those football games. And so if you're going into the postseason, yeah, you're not going to get 4 or 5 when you get into the playoffs. But if you have that ability to take the football away, that's a huge weapon for the Eagles team.
It's interesting. This defense is playing much differently over the last couple of weeks than it had been, the couple months prior, where they were just dominating on a per play basis, forcing a lot of 3-and-outs, but they hadn't forced that many turnovers. Last 2 weeks, like on a success rate basis, they haven't been that great. But they've been turning the ball over. Like if you just look at it in terms of the ranking this season by games, this was their second best game of the season by defensive EPA per drive behind the first Cowboys matchup, but it's 12th in success rate. And early on, it felt like the Cowboys were moving the ball. Obviously, that did not continue.
Me and Fran were watching it during the watch-along going like, oh, man, the vibes in this first quarter.
7-7 first quarter.
Stink.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I think, but you got to give the coaches credit because they knew deep down that the Eagles play best when their first 2 offensive drives are terrible. They knew it.
They're committed to the bit.
Last week, they score a touchdown on the opening drive. They lose the game. This week, they have 2 of the worst drives you've ever seen, and they win 41-7. They know what they're doing.
And they came out throwing the football in the opening drive. That didn't work. Then they came out and went Saquon in the second drive, and that didn't work. And then they were able to break it open.
Third drive, and they started pass again. You're like, oh, maybe they're just going to do this every single possession, only do one of the 2 things. All right, let's start with Saquon because that is the story here. 31 carries, 167 yards on the season now through 16 games. So, you want to talk about what would be normally the end of the regular season. 16 games, 2,005 yards rushing. He's 100 yards away now from Eric Dickerson's single-season record. Wow. We will see if next week matters for the Eagles or if not, if they decide to play him. But let's just take a second here, Vinny, to appreciate the magnitude of the season that he has had this year, just changing the shape of the Eagles' offense.
Oh, man. Look, I've been saying it all year. Man. Saquon for MVP.
You really have.
Yeah, and it's like next week, you want to talk about being petty? You want to talk about sticking it to him? Break it next week.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Shane just an absolute hell.
If the game was up in New York on that wretched field that just injures so many players, I might have a little bit of like hesitancy to like really push for it. But it's at home. It's on the grass.
Yeah.
Go get that man his record.
I do wish they would have let him just play like
I know.
maybe like three or four more
Another
carries.
31
Like,
carries, though. I
knock
think
it
just
down.
most in the game this
Because
season.
say Mr. Saquon can bust that in three plays, and they only got to play a half next week.
And that Cowboys team had really you could feel just sort of stopped
they was
playing in
defeated.
that game.
They tapped out. They was defeated.
Except when it came to Sidney Brown.
It's gonna be very interesting to see what the Eagles do. What do you think that? Let's say that the Niners win tomorrow night, or rather the Lions win tomorrow night. Eagles have nothing to play for next week. Do you think they're gonna play him?
Zach Berman gave me the feeling when he joined us pregame show. I said, Zach, what's your kind of prediction on this? If he's within striking distance, do you think they're going to go for it? And he said something that I think could push him to do it. And he said that it's the offensive line that wants it. If Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata walk into Sirianni's office and say, we're all in, we want to get this for him, for us, for the organization, I feel like they'll do it a little bit.
I think they really wanted 2,000. And they got over 2,000. That's why this game was over, and they're still feeding him the ball,
nuts,
30 carries in a game.
100 yards,
I feel like that was their, let's go get 2,000, and if we can't play next week, we still have that to hang our hats on.
To me, honestly, the determining factor for next week, I think it comes down to what they're going to do with Jalen Hurts. I think if they say Jalen Hurts is going to come out, and if he's going to play, because remember, he didn't play this week. He's not. If he doesn't play next week, he didn't play the majority of last week. So you're saying he's going into the postseason with almost 3 games.
I want him to play a half.
Yeah. So that my guess would be if Jalen Hurts is going to play a half next week, then Saquon plays as long as Jalen plays.
Because if Jalen plays, the whole offensive line is going to play. So you're going to protect him.
I think that's the determining factor.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Please give us a quarter.
I would want Jalen to play.
And I love the idea of, because we've talked about it and we've joked about it, but Strahan gets that record for Brett Favre laying down. I like the idea of the Giants players who all love Saquon
doing that
and didn't want him to leave. They just fall down on the first 2 carries, and Saquon gets 100 yards, 101 yards on 2 carries, and they let him get it.
It's a classy organization.
Yeah. Why not? All right, let us know in the chat what you think were your big takeaways from this game. Jamie, let me know what they're saying in the chat. But we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to hear from Nick Sirianni in just a little bit. We're going to hear from Zach Berman with the scoop from the locker room in a little bit. And we may have a surprise guest for somebody, an Eagles fan, who was a big factor in this game. What a good vibes game this was. I mean, you blow out the Cowboys 41-7. You've got like everybody laughing on the sideline. Jalen Carter. I love the Nick Sirianni joking with Jalen Carter after he's the one who draws the roughness penalty. Very funny. You have the ball coming back to Tanner McKee after his touchdown. Just great vibes in this game.
Another interesting thing was, even with the third string quarterback in Tanner, right? They still was throwing the ball.
Yep.
Tanner McKee, 3 of 4 for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns, a 156.2 quarterback rating on his career.
Yeah.
To me, I think there's a fair case to be made that he's the best quarterback of all time.
I don't think that's elite.
He hasn't proven that he's not.
PFF said he's the number 1 quarterback in the NFL.
And not only that, we think about you think about the effect that Jalen Hurts has on the running game. I just want to tell you, in this game,
Saquon got better when he came in.
Saquon Barkley with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, 21 carries for 79 yards.
Of course you looked this
with
up.
Tanner McKee at quarterback, 10 carries for 88 yards.
I mean, that's just efficiency. That's just math. You
they
can't
respected
deny it,
the running threat with Tanner McKee. Dropping dimes. I don't know if Jalen's going to play next week. He might play next week because Tanner's going to play in the playoffs.
Well, look, I was interested to see what the offense would look like with McKee, what the passing game would look like. We didn't get to see too much. Obviously, like you mentioned, he threw 4 passes in the day, but I thought he came out and he looked confident. It wasn't too big for him.
If you did miss the game and you're watching this to catch up, obviously Kenny Pickett started. Goes 10 of 15 for 143 yards and a touchdown.
And he was balling.
And he was playing very well. Well, for him, he was playing very well. And the offense was structured that way. he leaves the game. He had the rib injury to worry about coming into the game, and then got knocked out. That's when McKee comes in.
One late hit, and then the other one was fine by Parsons, but he took two shots within a pretty short amount of time. He's in some pain.
Very first roughing the quarterback call the Eagles have gotten all season long. No surprise it was the white quarterback based on the way that the NFL officiates those things. Fran, what did you make of the way that the offense... I mean, that's true. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. What did you make of the way that they designed the offense with Pickett today?
I would say the big thing when studying Pickett over the course of not just his career in the NFL, but also in college, that's what I was talking with Jamie about it on the watch along. He was much more similar to Jalen Hurts in terms of play style, right? Where he wants to kind of run around and make plays, and some of those biggest plays of this game, where his ability to get out of structure and make some throws down the field. That play to Grant Calcaterra that really kind of opened things up. That was a scramble drill play where he found Calcaterra 34 yards down the field. The throw he made on the touchdown to AJ Brown that came back. He's rolling to his right and came back nice on the penalty. Yeah. That's the way that Kenny Pickett wants to play. He's not a timing and rhythm, ball's out quick, it looks clean. That's the way Tanner McKee plays. That's not the way that Kenny Pickett plays. So that's the difference there when you see that.
I was also impressed on the touchdown pass to DeVonta Smith. He did a really nice, subtle job of moving up in the pocket there, avoiding the rush and getting that ball
Fran
out.
was all lathered up about Kenny Gainwell. That was the right play, right?
The pass protection on that play, outstanding.
He was real excited by Kenny Gainwell's blitz pickup there on that play.
Kenny protecting Kenny.
Well, it was a double A gap look. So what Dallas did, they've had both linebackers over the center, and they ran a stunt where they used the one guy to pin down and we're looping the second guy around, hoping that, hey, you know what, we're going to force the center and the running back to communicate here on this play to kind of pass these guys off. Kenny blocked both players. So he initially was responsible for the pinner, and then he was able to get off of him and come back on the looping linebacker. He did an outstanding job on that play, giving Kenny Pickett just enough time to find DeVonta.
DeVonta, 6 catches for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, and was like half a yard away from 3 touchdowns. So nice to see DeVonta having a big game. AJ Brown, 3 for 36 and a touchdown. Relatively quiet, although he did have another one called back on that penalty. But it was not the most dispersed passing game we've ever seen. Calcaterra only has 1 catch for 34 yards on 2 targets. Gainwell has 1 catch. Saquon has 2 catches. That's it. They throw one other ball to EJ Jenkins. But it did feel like this game was a little bit more under control from them from a passing standpoint. I mean, it was a blowout game, right?
That's the thing. And it was so much Saquon. In the second half, it was all run game for the most part with this offense. And I think when you're looking at the way that they wanted to come out, it was, to Zach's reporting, he said on the show a couple times, he said it to us before the game, that it was going to be a lot of high percentage throws. Hey, let's get the ball out fast. You saw more play action. They had some under center looks with Kenny Pickett. They wanted to come out and just find ways to get the ball out quickly. But like I said, that's not really Kenny's game. He wants to kind of run around back there and create some plays, and he was able to do that as he kind of got into a rhythm in this football game.
Over the course of the game, their 3rd best game of the season by EPA per drive, 4th best in success rate. Wow. Having felt about Kenny Pickett as you did last week, Jamie, what did you make of his performance today?
I think Tanner McKee's better.
Well, I mean, facts are facts. We know that. But
no, I thought Kenny went out and kind of lived every Eagles fan's dream to have friends and family of the team you grew up for.
Yeah, I mean, you can relate to that, right? Being an Eagles fan,
coming in with
trendsetter, baby, trendsetter.
Yeah, like the division up for grabs, and you have a chance to go out there. I thought he did fine. He's fine.
But go ahead. But
no, I thought he did fine. I think he played very well for himself in this game. I do believe that Tanner McKee's better, but that's not. That doesn't matter. Kenny Pickett's who they went with, and I thought he
hopefully
played well.
We don't see either of these guys again.
Well, I don't think we want Jalen Hurts to play. Well, it depends
next week.
Next week matters.
But
and just to set this up, I don't know if we've said it yet. For the Eagles to still be in contention for the number 1 seed, what they need is
the
Vikings to lose this afternoon to the Green Bay Packers, the Lions to lose tomorrow night to the San Francisco 49ers. And if that happens, it sets up next week where if the Eagles win and the Vikings win in Detroit, the Eagles will be the number 1 seed. How confident do you feel about that?
I like the Packers today. I actually bet them on Bet365.
Packers, I believe, 1-point favorites in Minnesota.
It's going to come down. Hopefully, it's going to come down to that Vikings-Lions game, and it's a division game. Like, I don't know, weird things happen. It's live. The 1 seed's a little live. It's got a little life.
How do you feel, Vinny, about let's say that it's next week doesn't matter for the Eagles. They're locked into the 2 seed. This team hasn't had a bye since week 5, So if they don't get a bye, would you, as one of the starting caliber players, would you want the rest, or would you want to go out and play? How do you feel about that late in the season?
I will at least get a quarter. Let's get a quarter.
Okay.
Especially when Jalen didn't play a full game, 3 games.
Yeah.
You want to kind of feel that aura, to feel that energy with him, and then at the same time, you as a teammate you want to see Saquon get that record because everything is like the way his situation ended in Giants. I'm telling you, and to happen in New York is a big, middle finger to what in a. We don't air. I don't want to say what I want to say, but you know what I'm saying. But it means so much more, and it will show what type of brotherhood that you have with your teammates.
Basically, what you're saying is they could shove John Mara and Joe Shane's face just right in the dog poop, right?
And then
there.
They won today, so that you don't know if that
was
on
the
purpose because
from the
they
number 1 overall pick all the way down to
so
number
funny.
6. Like
that was.
Somebody
see some dumb stuff. That was pretty dumb.
Somebody in the chat, I lost the name, said that's a fireable offense if Saquon plays next week.
I think if the game doesn't matter, I don't think he should play. But that's me from the outside. I don't know how they would feel inside the building.
This might not ever happen again.
Yeah, I mean it's an NFL record.
So
it's not an Eagles
but
record.
they're trying to win a Super Bowl. They're not trying to get
records. This is my thing, though. 15, 20 years from now.
What are you going to talk about?
Well, if they win the Super Bowl, you're going to talk about the Super Bowl.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But,
there you go.
But Saquon gets to be in the NFL. Like, Eric Dickerson doesn't want to lose it.
And he's pissed
like, I don't know, 2017, do you remember
Yeah,
anybody's numbers from the season? I mean, they didn't set records, but, like, no one's talking about how many yards Carson Wentz threw for in 2017 or how many sacks Vinny Curry had. We're talking about the ring.
Yeah, but we also, it's been a long time that, we seen this caliber of running back come through. And
no doubt about that.
In the style and play, the level and style of play he's been doing it at has been crazy.
I think it's
jumping over people.
I don't disagree with that.
Splitting defenders.
I think it's a really cool thing. I think it gives the locker room I don't know, a sense of confidence. It's cool.
He go out there and get the 100. Guess what? He's the MVP. You got to give it to him.
It's crazy to think he could break the rushing record and still not finish it.
Joe Burrow pulls it out last week. I think it's it's the NFL history books. You know what I mean? It's a pretty substantial thing. To me,
cleats go to Canton, helmet go to Canton.
You can't play
just with Tanner McKee's cleats as well.
Yo, his stuff might go there today too. Maybe I'm serious. Listen, if anybody ever been to the NFL Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, you see some of the craziest stat stuff there. You be like, what? Who is this? It's the craziest stuff there. So you said he got him arguably right now is by the numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
I was trying to rile Bo up saying that PFF, trying to say PFF was giving him credit.
I was about to say.
Well, let us know what you think in the chat. If the Eagles are eliminated from number 1 seed contention, do you think that Saquon Barkley should go for the record next week? Do you think the Eagles should play him, or do you think that they should sit him? I'm curious what the fans think.
It seems right now the chat is no, he should sit. That's what most of the chat is saying.
I really think that they were approaching it today.
What was that?
The Giants had the worst running defense in the league.
The Cowboys were the worst. I got to look at what the Giants
are. Without Dexter Lawrence have been very bad against
the Cowboys. Yes, exactly.
I really do think that the way that they approached it today, giving him so many carries, win this game.
That's OD. Yeah, I wouldn't have did that.
But I think they did that knowing that if they're not in contention next week, they are going to sit him.
Yeah.
I think that's why they did that.
I kind of agree with you in that the 2,000 mark was the benchmark for them that they wanted to hit.
I mean, they pulled him after that. You could tell that that's what they were going for. And you saw Stout reacting to it.
You saw Stout react to it. They called timeout immediately after.
Yeah.
So that they could all celebrate together.
Yes.
I think that meant something to them to get there. Not that the record wouldn't, but I think that might have been enough to kind of wet their beak, whereas next week is not as big.
And there's the element, too, that it's going to be an 18-game schedule here. In, in the next 2 or 3 years. So, maybe the record doesn't last that long. When OJ broke the record, I know,
y'all making me nervous now. Yeah, sit him. Sit him.
I'm all for him. I'm playing. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't want.
Chat ain't gonna go off on me. Something go wrong.
I see rest all the way, but I see Rohit with the super chat who says break the record.
Yeah, like, it's cool.
Shit.
I don't know.
Philly, we got 2K.
Okay.
Like,
okay,
there's more likely than not he's not going to be injured. You know what I mean? Like, it's there for the taking.
Famous last words.
Yeah, sure. But, like, my words don't mean anything to what happens next week in South Philly.
So you say.
I said Jalen Hurts wasn't going to leave the game last week. Yeah. He missed 2 games.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the defense before we hear from Nick Sirianni. Fran, why don't you, if you can, and Julia, if we can pull up the CJ Gardner-Johnson pick 6 breakdown. This is the opening possession of the game. Cowboys are moving the ball down the field a little bit, and CJ Gardner-Johnson gets the Eagles on the board with the biggest play of the game, really probably like for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, it certainly looked. Dallas is moving the football, and what it looked like here on the play is that the Philadelphia Eagles are playing man-to-man coverage. The Eagles have not been a huge man-to-man team throughout the majority of this season, but as you can see here on this play, you can see that CJ Gardner-Johnson is lined up over the number 3 receiver. And it looks to me like they're playing a form of man. Now, what happens here is that Zach Bond looks like he's playing as the whole player in the middle of the field. And you'll see that as the receiver that CJ Gardner-Johnson is lined up in front of, he passes him off to Bond, and now CJ becomes the whole player in Bond's stead. And so basically what that allows is that now Bond picks up the receiver on the shallow cross. CJ Gardner-Johnson becomes a whole player and an underneath zone player and just reads the eyes of the quarterback. The Cooper Rush was trying to hit the slant behind CJ Gardner-Johnson. Bo, how often do we talk, because the Eagles run so much double slant when you to AJ Brown? If that first slant is very often, that's meant to open up the passing lane. You're trying to take CJ Gardner-Johnson and carry him towards the middle of the field. That's what Cooper Rush expected. But because Cooper Rush fell off and became the whole player, he was sitting still. Zach Bond ran with his receiver, and CJ just sat on the throw and picked it off.
And this is, I mean, for all the, we talked about it over the course of the week when CJ gets thrown out last week. Like, that's all part of the CJ Gardner-Johnson experience, right? And you know that you're going to get some of that. And as long as you're getting those big plays,
which we're getting now, the last few weeks, he's been on a heater. He's got his hands on a lot of footballs, which we did not see in the first 7, 8, 9 games. He was not really around the football as much to counteract some of those negative plays, some of those busted coverages that we saw from him. But now we're starting to see that he's starting to pay off in a big way. And a big return as well for him to be able to finish that off. No question. As soon as he picked up and started going, he said, all right, there was, this looks like it's going to go for 6. And yes, it's a swooper point for you. Monster swooper day. We'll talk about it later this week. We don't need to get into it now. That's exactly right. Do you like what you've been seeing from CJ Gardner-Johnson lately? Oh, absolutely, man. He's playing at a super high level. And like I said, he played with a lot of passion. Philadelphia. And they talked about that when they signed him. That's part of the reason that they brought him here. And I just thought it was pretty funny that, they was telling everybody to calm down. Sidney Brown at the end of the game. Sidney Brown gets thrown out of the game, and it's CJ Gardner-Johnson and Jalen Carter. Be like, hey, man. Yeah, it was pretty funny, man. Jalen Carter cracks me up. They're out there having fun, and to see them having fun, in this part of the season, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. He was having a lot of fun when he stole that interception away from Quinyon. He was having a blast. He's gonna get a visit from you. So a classic way to attack. The Eagles play a lot of quarters coverage, a lot of cover 4. And a classic way to do that is you run 2 routes vertically up the field. The outside receiver runs a post route, that's where Cooper Rush went with the ball. The second receiver runs up the field anywhere but 10 to 12 yards and then runs towards the sideline because he's hoping that he's going to suck the safety up. Sure. That should have been where CJ Gardner-Johnson should have been. That's the whole idea there behind that play. CJ's like, no, I'm not doing this. Bails on that, drops to the deep part of the field, and picks it off. Just unbelievable play. It's almost like, Frank, he from watching film and preparation that he already knew. Yep. That whatever they showed him pre-snap, it meant that he was going to throw it right there. And I know what you know, what I know, what you think I'm going to do. Yeah, and you said, like I said, you can see he's just waiting for it to drop in his lap, and it was just like he jumped over it and grabbed it. I was like, damn. It was comical. Hell of a jump, though. Hell of a grab. Yeah. I pointed the ball. With that interception, he might have ran away with Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably him, Chop Robinson, and Jared Verse that are battling this out.
Now, to be fair, this was not Quignon's best game.
No.
There were several balls completed on him early. I think 3 in the first half, which doesn't sound like a lot, but relative to the expectations he has given us, it was a little bit
Yeah, I
notable.
asked Fran at one point during the watch along. I was like, "Are you making anything of getting kind of toasted by McLaurin last week?" And then there was the one play, I forget who it was.
Tolbert called the touchdown on the red zone.
Kind of called the touchdown over him.
Could
So are you making anything of this? And he was like,
hitting that rookie wall. Let's be honest. College football would have been over by now.
That's true. And I think the thing about last week was that maybe it made teams a little bit less wary of throwing the ball in his direction.
Yeah, I mean, he's been consistently this season has been their most targeted DB. I know it doesn't seem that way, but in terms of targets are for DBs, it's a very weird stat that you can't totally trust. But I think when you look at at the last couple of weeks for Quignon, to me, like it was poor technique on the deep ball touchdown to McLaurin. Like he just did not play that coverage well and got beat over the top. And in this game, he gave up a couple catches on some stop routes, which on those situations, like you're okay with that. And he lost on a red zone jump ball. I think for a rookie corner, I'm not too worried about it.
The professor, I guess, live tweeted from the stadium here during the stolen interception, and he said Quignon was visibly upset about not getting that pick and didn't celebrate with his teammates initially. Great job by everyone, both sides of the ball, to come over to him afterwards. They're all laughing about it now.
That's really funny.
This was like a very good, like for comedy. This was a really funny game.
I think Zach Berman would call this Eagles porn today, right?
I think that's
in the Big J journalism.
You know when you see it.
Yeah.
I was cracking up at the Nick when Jalen Carter draws the roughness. That was very funny.
Yeah, so he draws the personal foul, and it was very quick. Yeah. Credit to the Fox crew.
Broadcast team did the production team did a very good job today.
Outstanding job. They caught Nick dapping him up. That was outstanding.
Wow, yeah, really? You did that? Oh, good for you. It was very funny. All right, let's run through some of the super chats before we get to Nick Sirianni himself. We've got Claude Debussy, who says, just like Jamie has been shouting, no more Mike Trout. No more balls to Mike Trout.
I mean, somebody said that Mike Trout gives them to kids, so that's cool. Okay. But like at this point, he's got like 35 NFL footballs. Like, what are you doing?
I will say, if he's giving all of them to kids, then I'm okay with it.
If he's giving them all,
to kids, I'm good.
But like, maybe
he's a true sicko.
Yeah, that's true. I'm okay with that.
Just stop giving him balls. Like he's got enough at this point. I'm with you, Claude.
Jake M. I like how Tanner McKee takes like a one-step drop, looks like 2002 football.
Yo, he got a 2002 name too. Like Tanner McKee drops. Yeah, it's like playing Madden '99.
Rohit, we already said, has on the record as saying he wants the Eagles to break the record. And then Shahid says, for a city that prides itself for courage and boldness, there's a lot of hand-wringing over Saquon's safety. Be bold and go for it.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Look.
I'm okay with that. I think that they will not do it. But
Saquon could do that in 2 rushes.
If the worst case scenario happened, though, the city would burn.
I would leave.
Yeah,
I would probably just
sit down. Sit down. No, y'all not going to say, well, Vinny Curry was on that show. He was on the show podcast. Oh, sit him. Have a good one. Bring a coffee.
What do you think the conversation in the locker room is about it? Do you have a feeling they want to go for it, or do you think?
Okay, do y'all remember what AJ said in the beginning of the season, when going into the first Giants game?
What did he say?
Yeah, we got your back. We want you.
Yeah. He was saying that everybody wants to do the Giants crazy for him. So we're going into the last game. Listen to what's going on.
Yeah,
last game of the season.
It's perfect
against the New York Giants. Right?
With the NFL
With the NFL rushing record on the line. He's arguably one of the greatest running back we've seen. Ooh! Saquon!
Let's see if Nick Sirianni is asked about it. I believe we have him now.
I'm getting Saquon 2000 today.
How you going?
The NFC East.
And excited for him. Can you talk about Kenny Pickett and the job that he did and then the job Tanner did also? Yeah, those guys did a really good job coming in and playing and played really clean football. Happy and with the way they prepared themselves this week and went out and performed. And so they deserve all that credit. But you can't go out there and play that position without the greatness of other people, and they had some greatness from other guys out there. And so, starting with their coaches, Kellen, Kevin, and Doug, really did a good job getting them ready. And then just the plays that they got from Smitty and Saquon and Grant Calcaterra and AJ and the offensive line. So it was just, that's what a team is. A team steps up in adversity and steps up and has each other's backs.
Nick, you have the NFC East champion hat on. I know you guys have bigger goals, but considering all the adversity the team has gone through, what's it mean to win it?
Yeah, it's I think it's exciting. We always want to do special things. I think winning a division is always a special thing, and then our goals are much bigger from here. I think we got special guys. It was fun celebrating in there when you're able to do this, and exciting. We'll enjoy this, and then we'll get right back to work because our goals are bigger than just winning this division. But this is a hell of a division with great teams and great coaches and great players, and so to be on top of that, and you guys walk in the building. There's always that area where it's just the champions, the NFC East champions. I walk by it every day on my way in and my way out. To see Coach Reed's pictures in there, and Coach Doug's pictures, and Carson, and Jalen, and Donovan, and all the great players. Michael Vick, and all the great players there that have contributed to NFC East championships. It's cool to add another one there. But we just want to get back to work. Well, again, like I said, we'll enjoy this, and let's back to work.
What does CJ been with your goals being bigger? I mean, you have been keeping track of players and their records. Saquon, next week, he said going for it would be up to you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. A lot needs to play out. We will see where we are in a couple of days.
What do you think factors are thinking about that?
There's a lot that goes into
MVP
it.
chance?
And like I said, there's some things that we'll see. We'll watch some games tonight, see how things are going, and then we'll do what we need to do. What's right for the I always got to do what's right for the football team to reach our goals of what we need to do. And like I said, I got a lot to think about, and I'm gonna enjoy this, and then I'll think about it tonight at some point.
Along those lines, CJ's pick six.
What was the significance for you for him getting 2,000 yards?
Yeah, it's special. What'd you say, Bob? 9 people have done that? 9 total. And I don't know all the names, but imagine they're pretty special names. Saquon's pretty special. This offensive line's pretty special. This offense is pretty special. And so when something, I know that the guys were excited when that happened, and it's a cool thing to be a part of. Anytime you can be a part of something special, that's what's cool about being a part of a team.
What does CJ's interception, pick six, mean for the?
Yeah, that was really big. Got momentum going early, and we didn't start off great on offense. I think we had 2 3-and-outs after that. But yeah, anytime you can create turnovers on defense, that's special. We talk a lot about it, and these guys pour everything into it. You can really see them coming after the football, and then when they can get, what Chauncey's so impressive about Chauncey is that when he gets his hands on the football, he finishes, and that's a special talent that he has. Thinking about last week where he had the interception last week, where it was one it was low on the ground. He had to double catch it, but he still finds a way to do it, and then he finds a way to do that. He did something like that in practice. The play was, I give a lot of credit to the coaches of them putting the players in that position. We had that play that we looked at and did in practice. And Chauncey was right there the same way. It didn't end up in an interception, but he ended up in a really good spot, and we really talked about that. And then so credit to the coaches for putting him in that position, but all the credit, the most credit goes to the players for making the plays in those scenarios. So. But that's what's so cool about this game, right? It's a team game, and I just thought it was big. Chauncey responded in a big way, making big time plays today.
Described him as the player most like you. This was a couple years ago. I don't know if it's changed, but obviously in terms of emotion, last week obviously got in a little
little trouble. How did he respond, and how important is it for him to?
Yeah, I thought you saw the game today. I thought he responded awesome. We talk a lot about dog mentality, and what dog mentality is putting your, learning from your past mistakes, but putting them in the past and being able to focus completely on what you're at right now. And that only will serve him well in football, but it will also serve him well in life to be able to do that through the ups and downs in life. And so, I just was really proud of him of how he responded today and how he played today, and how, I actually saw him breaking up a couple things out there today of some interactions between players. So, man, he's a special dude. I really have, my 2 years with Chauncey, I just think he's special. I think he's a special guy that loves this game of football, loves his teammates, loves the people in the building. I saw him giving out presents to the entire cafeteria staff this week. He just this guy is a special guy. And you can ask him what he got him. I don't want to give that. They can talk about that if they want to, but going in there and doing that and taking care of, because it truly takes care of it truly comes down to everybody in this sport, everybody in the building, players, coaches, front office, people in the cafeteria, the equipment staff, the video department, the training staff, the strength and conditioning staff, and Dom. It takes everybody, and this is a lot of credit to Mr. Laurie of all the and Howie of everybody they have in place and all the resources they have in place, and you're able to do some things like this when you have that.
You've had to make rest or not rest decisions before. Does it record? League record has been stood for 40 years. Play any part in your thinking?
Again, I'll handle that as we go. I'm not thinking about that quite yet. I will get there. Probably later tonight when everyone's still celebrating. I'll be thinking about that and what we need to do. Our goals are bigger. It is a true. I was saying earlier, I think before you got in here. It is true, a big-time accomplishment to win the NFC East of all the great teams that have won the NFC East in the past. So that was special. But our goals are bigger than just to win that. We want to win our first playoff game, then win our second playoff game, and win our third, and all the way to the end. And so we'll take that one game at a time. I'll do what I think is necessary and best for the team to put ourselves in that position. But I also am very sensitive to records and all the things there, and so we'll see how it goes. I don't know yet, but we'll always do what's best for these guys, and that could mean play them, that could mean rest them, right? It could be either one. I got to think about that. Looking forward to going out in the field and having it and playing catch with my kids after this, though, and then I'll think about it later.
Nick, you might have already answered this, but in your years in the league, what kind of conditions have to be in place for a team to withstand the loss of its starting quarterback for however long a team might be without?
Yeah, it's not. Jalen's a phenomenal football player, and anytime you're without him, you're obviously not as good as a team. You're starting quarterback who's won so many games, and so anytime he's not on the field, his presence is felt because that guy's special. Jalen Hurts is a special football player, but to be able to win in a scenario where you're a man down, and that whether it's Jalen or whether it's Nakobe, it takes everybody. We talked about that last night. That Kenny, you're going to play a good game today because you're a good player, but you're going to play a good game because AJ's going to do things only AJ can do, and Saquon's going to do things only Saquon can do, and Smitty's going to do things only Smitty can do. And the O-line's going to do things only the O-line can do. And I said it to Kellen too. Kellen, you got to be great. In order for Kenny to be great today, you got to be great. And then I said the same thing to Warren. Warren, you got an opportunity to play today, and you're going to play good because you're a good player. But you're also going to play good because Jalen Carter's going to be great up front and play on their side of the line of scrimmage, and Jordan Davis is going to play on their side, and Milton and Sweaty and Nolan are going to be violent on setting the edges. And so that's what's cool about that. When you go in without one of your best players, you're able to overcome in the sense because it takes everybody. It's not, and I think you guys have asked me this before, how's the offense going to look now that this guy's out or that guy's out? It's never just one guy that has to replace it. It takes a true team effort, and it takes a true team. That's why this is the greatest team sport there is. I mean, I love football so much because of that, and I don't want to get emotional, but it just takes everybody and from the entire organization, and that's what makes this game special. That's why these guys are friends for a lifetime. These guys that get close, they're friends for a lifetime because of the things they go through together. No disrespect to any other sport. I love basketball, but football is special. It is special that I still have lifelong friends from football, of the guys I went through things with, and that's what's cool about this game. So, those guys, my buddies from high school that I played football with were up for the Pittsburgh game, and like that, what I mean, like. And my buddy Eric, my buddy Tommy, my buddy Jared, like those guys, Andy, those guys were up for that game, and so that would be cool to be like, hey, you want to come back and go see in 20 years
in the group chat
Eagles play, and those Chauncey's with Slay or whoever it is. I just think that's so cool about this game. That's why I love this game so much.
Last one. You mentioned a couple times it takes the whole organization. You mentioned support staff, all that kind of stuff. So what does it mean to you to go through this and be at this position, hat, T-shirt game? What does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of these coaches and these players, and excitement. I maybe had a good moment with my family. I can't. We talk about being great. You can't be great without the greatness of others, and we talk about that with a team. But I can't be great without the great wife I have and the awesome kids I have, great parents and brothers that I have that have all, and great mentors that I've had. From Larry Karras to, Frank Reich and all the different guys that have put their arms around me and helped develop me into the coach that I am. So it means a lot, but like I said, we'll enjoy this. Our goals are much bigger.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We can pull out a Nick. Good job there. Vinny, you said something there sort of under your breath as we heard the locker room partying in the background of those answers. Like, I know what it's like to be in those locker rooms. What is it like to be in those locker rooms?
Man, after a win like that, you kick Dallas' ass. Everybody scored a touchdown, who really contribute.
Except for Saquon.
Yeah,
Saquon
Davis.
Yeah,
you got 2K. You got 2K.
You want a touchdown, you want 2,000 yards. I'm taking 2K.
Yes.
Defensively, they had four takeaways?
Four
takeaways,
yep.
Right? Did you hear him talking? And did you hear? So Saquon must have been doing the interview outside. And did you hear when he walked into that locker room? What was they chanting? MVP. And I told you, if you're taking this, if you sitting down there and you're talking to your guys, and you're thinking about it, realistically, he can get that rushing record
in a half
in 7 carries. He liked that.
And you showed us the AJ Brown in the locker room apparently says he wants to go for it.
I want to be a part of that, I believe was the quote.
I don't know.
Man, the whole team.
And Nick likes to say
it's going to be Nick. Nick going to be doing
this. It takes special people to do special S, right? That's special S. I don't know. I'm sort of getting talked into it.
Yeah, there you go. You can't play.
I think this is going to be like Howie is going to be like, no.
Yeah, I think
we are not going for it. And Nick is going to be like, I'm telling you, the guys want to go for it.
Listen. If he gets that, rushing record next week, this is to be one of the most best revenge stories of all time.
It already is. But yeah, you're true. That's right.
The record on the team that said that we didn't win.
That's true.
And I think what you said jokingly, like,
and then they cut the guy to get the money. This is the best. This is pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I think the Giants aren't gonna like.
He runs into
I don't
the
think they're
tunnel.
going to kill themselves.
All the men are going to come to the game.
Like after they won this week, the message is going to be we have to lose next week.
I mean, the plane tickets are booked for that Giants locker room. Like those guys are looking at.
They're already counting on Shador.
Yeah.
And there's Coach Prime rumors already. Like they're not going to try that hard to take Saquon down in the first half next week. You could have that locked up by halftime. And then you can give him the second half.
I mean, he could also get hurt.
No,
I don't.
You can't think like that.
I'm more.
Don't sit him. I don't want to be part of that. You know, but like I said, man, the revenge story.
Yeah.
You know, what's the I was about to say no. The documentary they be doing.
Oh, Hard Knocks?
No, it's like it's like
Not
when the
Hard
season over. I want it's not 30 for 30. This documentary that go around
unscripted or
unscripted. I think it's called unscripted.
For the Eagles?
Yeah.
Yeah, unscripted.
Unscripted.
Yeah.
Since it's unscripted, I'm telling you, this should be it break records. He break this record.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, just
it's what I mean, just to like track back to when they signed him, it is wild to think about in that
go
first
back to his
season.
press conference.
He's going to top 2,000 yards rushing.
Are we going to win now?
He said in the locker room or at the podium, this is his first hat and T-shirt game. He's never had one before.
Thing.
I mean, literally, this is only the second winning season he's ever been a part of.
Yeah. And
2,000 yards.
Chris Johnson just tweeted at him and said, "Welcome to the 2K club."
Nice.
Like Eric Dickerson, I'll have to look it up, but I think he only averaged like 3.9 yards per carry that year.
So Saquon is the 9th player in NFL history to go over 2,000 yards.
Okay.
And he's got 5.8 yards per carry, which is the 4th best of those 9. Barry Sanders was at 6.1 or 6.2, which is insane. And then Adrian Peterson and O.J. Simpson were both at 6.0. But Dickerson was at 5.6. So he did have more carries.
Okay. I mean, you have a chance at one of the greatest running back seasons in the history of the game. I think that means
he already
has
one of. He's already one of, but like,
yeah, one of 10 or 9.
A lot of running back seasons.
It's 101 yards. That's so obtainable.
I could think, it's not even like the worst case. Like, what if he gets like a high ankle? What if you like?
I don't think like that. I know, and Howie probably is, to your point, but
it's not even that. The only thing that the thing that is compelling to me is like AJ Brown being like, yeah, I want him to do it. Like
I think
the guys on the team being like, we want to get this record. That's what's compelling to me.
Yeah, I think Lane.
And he sat on the other record. Remember, he sat on it. Now let the young guys.
That's true. In that first Giants game.
Saquon!
All right, we got to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back with some more surprises as the show goes on. Let's talk about our friends at Ace Hardware Home Services. Whenever we get ready for the next job at Ace Hardware Home Services, we remember what to bring. And what they bring at Ace Hardware Home Services is manyfold. It's experience. We're talking local plumbers and techs who handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. We're talking understanding. We listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you're satisfied. And most of all, what they bring is helpful, and they bring it to your home so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
And if you've seen Johnny Marks' beautiful set of hair, then you know all about Glatt Hair Restoration because it just flat out works. And Glatt Hair Restoration is now, with the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Ken Morgenstern, they've teamed up to give you the same peerless approach to care, same expert team, same unmatched Glatt system with the same state-of-the-art location and the same stellar results. Anyone can buy equipment and say they do hair restoration, but only Glatt is offering you decades of proven results with an innovative approach and delivered by leaders in the industry. They have a multitude of options for you, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical and oral medication, PRP and stem cell restoration, and of course, hair restoration surgery. Each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best cure for treatment. And Glatt Hair just isn't about restoration, it's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments regularly do dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. If you want to improve how you look and feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started.
All right, Jamie, let me know if we hear from...
yes, we are waiting for the man of the hour, Patrick Driscoll, who did get his jersey from A.J. Brown. Mike Garofalo tweeted it out. A.J. met him at the end of the end zone.
That's great.
Pulled the jersey off his back.
So if you missed this, after the Tanner McKee touchdown pass to A.J. Brown, the first of what figures to be several thousand touchdown passes in the career of Tanner McKee, A.J. Brown hucks the ball into the stands, and then a great job from the production team to catch. He realizes that was McKee's touchdown pass.
A.J. knew that. Was that in the upper level?
He threw it. Yeah.
That was a rock.
I think he must have gone because Driscoll seemed like he was in the lower level, right?
I think Patrick's going to join us here momentarily.
Awesome.
But AJ was a baseball player.
I'll give you a jersey.
He's like, I got you. And then sure enough, he made good on it. That's an awesome day for Patrick. So we'll talk to him shortly.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And then also, we're going to hear from Zach Berman in just a little bit.
You think Zach will be pissed that we got the scoop on young Patrick here? Would he have any interest in that storyline?
No, I think he's going to be mad that Jamerson Crowder didn't have any touchdown catches in this game. That's what'll be chapping his ass. A few minor things that we can go through. Eagles made a change. Remember last week, obviously, they really struggled on kickoffs and kickoff coverage. Made a change in this game. Jake Elliott took over kickoffs, and they did a great job. He kicked every single one into the end zone, and they did not struggle there. So that was interesting, even though Nick Sirianni on Friday, I believe, lied about it.
Poo-pooed it. Yeah, I think...
Wednesday. Maybe it was Wednesday that he lied about it.
Right.
Anyway.
No, it wouldn't be Wednesday.
It must have been Friday. Yeah.
Right. But certainly that was a change that... I would say most of us expected right after last week, right?
Well, it was why wasn't he doing it all along?
I guess that's the bigger question,
right?
Yeah, right.
But that was good to see them answer that. Nakobe Dean. Oh, we got Patrick. Let's go to him now. All right, the man of the hour, Patrick Driscoll. Let's see it. You got that jersey with you, Patrick.
Got that jersey?
Yeah, so should I go grab? Yeah, let me go grab it. It's in the garage right now.
This is awesome. He's already home. What a day for you.
Go grab it. Hold on. Bring it back out here.
This is awesome.
This is great. He's already home, too. You made good time.
Oh, I got it right here. I'm going to put it out across the table. Show everybody. Dude, they were awesome about it, man. They were complete class act. That was amazing right there. So here's signed it to my name back here to Patrick, and then AJ, and then obviously the game worn with the captain. So real cool, man. Class act out of those guys. They were awesome about it. They were just like, hey man, Tanner would obviously love that ball back. It was his first. AJ said he'll get you its signed jersey after the game afterwards, if that's cool with you. And I was like, hell yeah, man. I was like, whatever those guys need. I was like, let's just keep this thing rolling.
That's awesome.
So Patrick, where were you sitting that the ball actually landed?
So I was in section 110.
Okay.
Other than that, I can't tell you too much. I had graduated with a friend from college. He lives in Bucks County. He called me earlier this morning. He was like, hey man, one of our guys bailed. I got season tickets in 110. He was like,
a morning call.
Yeah. He was like, you want to come watch the game? I was like, dude, 55 degrees, good weather, and the birds playing. I was like, hell yeah, dude. I was like, let's go. So we went over. We went to Xfinity Live for a little bit, saw some friends at the tailgate, and then got into the game. First play we saw was that CJ Gardner-Johnson pick six, obviously. Nice. And then from there, it was just complete takeover. So it was a great day. Great day all in all.
So take us through getting the ball. What kind of play did you make? How athletic was it? This
AJ,
is like dreams come true here.
Yeah, so AJ ran that slot fade. He hit him perfect, and then he turned around and just launched it up and straight behind the goalpost, and I see it coming right at me, and it's just like a foul ball. Like if you're at like a minor league baseball game, major league baseball game, you see it coming right at you. I'm like, all right, this thing's on the trajectory right at me. Nobody tipped it, nothing, and then straight into my right pocket right here, and then
nice.
And then once I had it in there, dude, I tucked it up right. I was like, I am not letting go of this thing.
You want to protect that.
I tucked with two hands. Yeah, and then a few people that came over, and they were like, Big Dom and the other guys, they want you to come down real quick, and I was like, yeah, for sure. And they were like, and AJ from the sideline, I could see him, and he was like, I'll get you a jersey, let's just get that ball back. And I was like, I got you, and that's what I was just saying. I was flexing from up in 110 and just saying I got you, let's get him that ball back. He deserves it.
What a great day for you, man. The flex went viral.
Yeah, everybody sees it. I feel bad though, because I was mispronouncing Tanner's name in the interview. I was calling him Taylor by accident, but yeah.
Well, you know, long day at Xfinity Live. That's okay.
Had, you know, a middle like 1 2 minutes. That's all.
Yeah, the flex went everywhere. I was at Xfinity Live for a little bit too long pregame.
That's all right. You still made the play. I mean, that's
yeah, that's all that matters.
Give us a little background of you just as a Birds fan.
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up here in Audubon, so right over the Walt Whitman. Grew up a Birds fan my whole life. Was born in 2002. So got to experience that McNabb Super Bowl a little bit, felt that heartbreak, but then we got that one back with Nick Foles and those guys that year. So that was awesome. And then this year, just been chipping away at games. Came 2 weeks ago, caught one, was able to get in, but really just like more of like a tailgate guy. We'll catch it from the house. Love what they've been doing. Been tuned in, and then obviously it was great to get over there today. Unreal experience.
So Patrick, let's be real here. It's just us chatting. Did you take a whiff of that jersey? How's it smell?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit sweaty, and as soon as AJ threw it up to me, they brought me to like the first row, and AJ threw it up to me, and he was like, "Hey man, like tuck that thing up your hoodie as you're walking out the parking lot." He was like, "I'm not joking." I was like, "I got you." I was like, "For sure." So the way it works with me and my family is I'll get dropped off in Lot P. I'll enjoy the day tailgating, and they'll pick me back up over at Cisco and like 7th and Packer. That's where I used to play baseball growing up. So for us being in Jersey, they come right off the bend, pick me up at 7th and Packer, and then we shoot right back home. So I had it tucked from the second I walked out first row until I got to Cisco and 7th and Packer, man. Nobody knew I had that thing.
And the smell?
Yeah, it was there. It's pretty bad. AJ was putting that work in for sure, man.
It smells like greatness.
To say the least. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, Patrick, thank you so much. What a day for you. The man of the hour.
I know. Yeah, crazy day. And then obviously thank you guys for figuring out the whole thing and bringing me on here, man. It's been truly awesome, and just obviously hope the Eagles keep this thing rolling, man. And I think we got the potential to go all the way here.
Hey, real quick, Patrick, before we go, Saquon, 101 yards for the record next week. Should he play or should he not?
1,000%, man. Like, let's let him play. Let's make sure we don't do anything dumb. But he deserves that record, man. He's been busting his tail since he's got in the league, and he deserves it for sure. Let's get it to him. Let's keep him healthy, and then obviously, like I said a few minutes ago, let's keep this thing rolling into the playoffs, man. We got the potential. We got all the pieces.
All right, Patrick Driscoll makes it happen. What a day! Thank you so much for joining us, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's been awesome.
Nice, the man, Patrick.
Congratulations. What a job by Jamie to track it down. Old school journalism.
Yeah.
Capital J.
Somebody helped us out, was sitting right next to him at the game, and I said, get the email for him, and he sure enough, he already followed us. So he might be a sicko. We didn't ask.
There we go.
But obviously he knows
I think
ball.
It's implied.
Yeah, he clearly knows ball.
All right. Now, I know that Zach is itching to join us. He's champing at the bit. But we got to take our last commercial break before we get to Zach Berman just after this. We're talking C-Jam Construction. People, C-Jam Construction is a family-owned home remodeler specializing in decks, bathrooms, and flooring, and their goal is to help their clients alleviate the challenges and frustrations that come with home remodeling. I mean, if you got a remodeling project that you got coming up at the start of the new year, there's only one place to go. It's C-Jam Construction. That's C-Jam. It's like pretend that the CJ's it's a big CJ Gardner-Johnson day. Maybe they turn that into a big C-Jam Construction day. And if you do reach out to C-Jam Construction at cjamconstruction.com, be sure to mention PHLY and you'll receive a 15% off discount when you call in at 856-329-2933 about your next home project. See their full selection and learn more about the products and warranties on their website at cjamconstruction.com.
Well, when the Birds win the NFC East, I know where I'm going. That's right to the beer fridge to get a Miller Lite. Because when friends and family are around or the Birds are thriving, nothing hits as good as a cold, domestic Miller Lite, the original light beer since 1975. And to this day, it's still the best one. It's settled. It's a light beer that tastes like light beer should taste because they keep it simple, undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. I mean, you can't beat that. It's the original since 1975 and still the best one. And you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY-birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
All right, it's everybody's favorite time of the post-game show. That's right. We're bringing in the man from the LINC himself, our Eagles insider, Zach Berman, looking sharp, a little blurry. There's some kind of effect going on here.
Yeah, it might be the studio lighting. I'm not sure.
It's like a halo effect that you've got going on. You look heavenly.
I'll check that afterwards to see if there's a filter I should take off. But nonetheless, hustled up here from the locker room, and an interesting locker room. So many storylines here. Obviously, Saquon Barkley. Obviously, winning the NFC East. Obviously, the backup quarterback situation. CJ Gardner-Johnson was a storyline in there that people brought up. So it can go in a number of different directions here. But everyone was talking about Saquon in the huddle on offense. In the offensive linemen we're talking about getting Saquon Barkley the record. And at one point, Landon Dickerson says to Jordan Mailata, he's 48 yards away, or I guess whatever the number was. And
you mean
and
from
Jordan's
2000,
like from
not the actual?
Well, yeah,
record.
well, no. So that's the thing. So Jordan's like from the record, and then Landon's like no from 2K, right? So that there's talks of both of those records. 2,000 yards was significant to Saquon Barkley. Did you hear Saquon Barkley's press conference by any chance?
We did not.
Okay, yeah. So I asked Saquon, and Saquon was honest about that. He knew, the amount of players who have done this in NFL history, and players he's looked up to, and players he's studied, and so to be part of that group meant a lot to him. That was kind of the number that he's been thinking about, and the prestigious number for him. He didn't go into the year with that as a goal, but he realized pretty quickly in the year that could be a possibility here. He actually said going into the year, he was hoping for 2,000 all-purpose yards. That was the goal he was thinking about. And then he realized when you have A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert, your job's basically to carry the rock, he said, right? So that was the way he framed it. But that 2,000-yard number meant a lot to a lot of players in there. So the natural follow-up then is, does he go for the record next week? And it's pretty split. Saquon Barkley said he's going to leave that up to Nick Sirianni. Jordan Mailata said he wants Saquon to get it, and as a captain, he's going to tell Nick that he wants Saquon to get it. A.J. Brown says it's history. He wants to be a part of history. Lane Johnson said Eric Dickerson did it in 16 games. Like 2,000 yards was the number. So there's I don't want to say conflicting feelings on it, but I asked Jordan point blank, are you going to express this to Nick? And he said yes. He's going to say this to Nick. So I'm curious to see kind of that's obviously going to be the big story this week. I don't mean to ramble here, but there's many other things.
No, but let's ask you, Zach, knowing this team as you do, if the Eagles don't have anything to play for next week, what do you think they will do?
I don't think they'll play him. I think it would be. I want to see him play. I mean, 101 yards against that Giants run defense.
Zach, do Jalen Hurts play next week?
That's the thing, and I think Fran is right to bring this up.
Can't play by himself.
Yeah, Vinny. You hit that on the head there. And I was talking to people afterwards, and I said, the carrot they could use is they want to get Jalen some work. They could say, let's get one half of the first team offense. Let's get Jalen fresh. They can use, and I said this on the pregame show. They looked at 2022, Jalen playing week 18 as a valuable thing. Jalen has said that. I spoke to people in the building who said getting Jalen back, giving him that game going into the postseason really helped. The difference, of course, is they had a bye back in 2022. But they could rationalize it by saying, we want to get Jalen some work. We don't want it to be, 2+ weeks in between. And you basically say, Saquon, you have one half here, right? You have one half to try to get this number. I could see that, but
he starts trying to just jump over every single player on the field. Like he's got 6 carries to get it done.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fascinating. It's going to be the big story this week.
All right. Well, obviously, we are very excited to see how that all plays out, and very dependent on what happens elsewhere in the league.
Yeah.
What did you make of the backup quarterbacks in this game, Zach? What was the reaction in the locker room?
Yeah, so there was a lot of praise about Kenny Pickett's toughness. Kenny was dealing with this injury throughout the week. As a matter of fact, Tanner McKee took most of the snaps in Friday's practice. And this was not the players knew Kenny was starting, but they knew that they knew that they were also getting Tanner ready. Jordan Mailata said that the secret of the Mormon missile is out now. Everyone knows who he is. He said behind the scenes, like people knew this about Tanner McKee. So did Bo Wulf,
behind the scenes. How about in front of the camera? We've been talking about this for years.
Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of praise about Kenny Pickett's play. AJ Brown said like he wished that touchdown pass counted because he was like that was a dot. That pass to him was a dot.
The Pickett one.
The Pickett one. Yeah,
yes.
He wished the play that Pickett got hurt on. When he was talking about Kenny, he's like he wished that play counted because that was like a heck of a throw by Pickett. There was the sentiment was like they're happy for Kenny. This is kind of the culture of the locker room. You hear this a lot. The next guy has to step up. They've experienced this before. But yeah, for them to put up 41 points with their two backup quarterbacks says something about the Cowboys defense, but also says something about kind of this Eagles machine. And I definitely think it gives them confidence going forward here.
We haven't talked about the AJ Brown one-hander from Tanner McKee. That was a foot away from just an insane catch.
I even asked AJ, which was your best catch of the day? And he's like, he laughed. He said the one that counted because the other ones don't count. So
I think the one that didn't count was the sickest. I mean, that was nuts. Just so you know, Zach, I'm sure you're going to be writing about this, but Tanner McKee, his 156.2 quarterback rating, I mean, puts him in contention for best quarterback in NFL history. And in terms of actual quarterbacks, it's behind only Kerwin Bell.
Well, here you go, Bo. In the NFL draft era since 1936, Tanner McKee is the first player to have multiple touchdown passes in his NFL debut while attempting 5 or fewer passes.
I didn't know you were a quarterback rating guy all of a sudden, Bo.
I thought the same thing. It's funny
when Nick Sirianni mentioned quarterback rating, you were like appalled.
Well, when I can tell you that by the eye test, he's the best quarterback who's ever lived, but that's that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
That's why Jalen's going to play next week is because Tanner's playing in the playoff.
Yeah. I do think Kenny played a good game too. I think both of them. It was an impressive performance all around. Now, this was interesting. The NFC East of this all, right? Saquon Barkley was saying he didn't know what a hat and shirt game was. He didn't know this that this was a thing. He never experienced it. There were some guys in there who were really emotional. Mekhi Becton had tears in his eyes. Like Jordan Mailata was saying, they felt really good for Mekhi. There are certain guys who have never experienced a division crown who this was significant for. There were other guys who could not care less about winning the NFC East. I'll give you a funny anecdote here, okay? So DeVonta Smith's locker is next to AJ Brown's locker, and I was, AJ had a big scrum around him, and I was kind of like on the outskirts trying to listen, but I didn't want to invade Devontae's space because Devontae was still kind of packing things up. And Devontae, when he was ready to leave, he told me I can kind of, I could come into that spot. And he starts walking away, but I said, Devontae, do you want your hat? And he's like, no, I don't want the hat, right? And as Saquon said, because this didn't matter to Saquon. Saquon said, no one's going to remember that you won the 2024 NFC East, right?
Yes.
And the message actually, Jordan Mailata said that CJ Gardner-Johnson broke the team down after the game. Because Jalen Hurts wasn't there and CJ Gardner-Johnson stepped up in there, and CJ Gardner-Johnson's message was like, enjoy this now. This is good, but they got bigger goals. And like Jordan said, that encapsulates what their message is. So it's interesting because you have Vinny on set here, right? I mean, I'll defer to Vinny. There are certain games where you got the cigar smoke, and players are really celebrating the achievement. You see in like Major League Baseball, they're popping champagne. I obviously wasn't in there for the initial celebration, but that was not the way this seemed. This for a lot of guys in there, this was very matter of fact. I mean, there were a number of players who weren't wearing the shirt, who weren't wearing the hat. I mentioned to Jordan Mailata that he was wearing the T-shirt, and he's like, I had to put on something here, and it was just like the first shirt there. But he kind of took the thinking that this is very businesslike. Like this is the next game. So I found that DeVonta anecdote particularly colorful because it was like he didn't care about the NFC East. He cares about kind of what's next here. CJ Gardner-Johnson left the locker room wearing a ski mask, if that gives you any hint about like the way he was thinking today.
Good comment from Shay. Zach, I'm curious, can you confirm that it was actually Quinyon Mitchell who was about to break the team down before CJ Gardner-Johnson did it?
Yeah, that's funny. CJ apologized to Quinyon.
I was going to actually ask you that. Did he apologize? Yeah.
Of course he were.
Yeah, he apologized to Quinyon.
Did he apologize to Jamie?
He apologized to Quinyon.
Yeah.
No, why? Was there a prop bet with Quinyon interception?
No, it's just defensive rookie of the year up for grabs here, and Chop Robinson's making a case. Jared Burr, an interception could have been a nice little icing on the cake there.
True. Yeah. I mean, one interception's not gonna. I hear it. It was in his hands, but man, CJ, like I don't think enough's being made of like what CJ's done as a ball hawking safety. 6 interceptions in his 2 seasons with the Eagles. The only player who's had more interceptions in the past 20 years is Asante Samuel in Eagles history, like in a season. There's been other guys who've had 6, but it's CJ's only 2 years here. He's had 6 interceptions. He said after the game that he was pretty clear when he got here that he's one of the best safeties in the league. This isn't a matter of proving anything, but this is kind of how he feels his status is in the NFL.
All right, what else did you get from the locker room?
Yeah, so a lot of it obviously was about the rest for next week and that debate, and players see the merit of rest, but there is a strong sentiment that they want to see history. Like, how often are you on the doorstep of history, if you will? I did look in a game like this, as you guys all know, you can go big or you can go small, right? You can go like the big picture themes, but then you also have like the nitty gritty of the game. So I did speak to Oren Burks, great guy to speak to, Bo, and he confirmed that the plan, yeah. No, Oren and I have had many of good conversations during the season. He said the plan was for him and Jeremiah to rotate, right? And he said like this has kind of been his role in his career, to be the next linebacker up, to be the top reserve. So the moment wasn't too big for him. I thought that was big for the Eagles, like that. The Nakobe absence, I was curious how that would affect them, and I thought the linebackers played decently. You saw Oren Burks get his hand on the ball, forcing that fumble. So that stood out. Speaking to CJ, I was curious what CJ had to say. He did not want to get into like atoning for last week or anything of that nature. He said there was nothing that needed to be said today, right? As far as the talking trash element of it. But yeah, I for full disclosure, I did not go to Kenny Pickett's press conference or Nick Sirianni's press conference. I went to Saquon's, and then I was working the locker room thereafter. But there, I heard Tanner McKee speak for a little there, trying to decide what he's going to do with the ball. I don't need to give you any of the ball news. You had that. You had the man on. Shout out to Jamie. Great work there getting Patrick Driscoll. Is that the name?
He was the man.
Yeah, awesome.
From Audubon, New Jersey.
Yeah, they have a great hardware store.
Honestly, it's my fault. I should have followed up to ask him if he's ever been to Audubon Hardware.
Yeah, they have a great hardware store in Audubon, and a great diner as well. But yeah, so you guys were all over the ball story there, and yeah, I was kind of focused on Saquon. I was focused on the NFC East, and then some of like the nitty gritty of this game.
Did McKee speak?
He did. He spoke by his locker. It was a big crowd. I was in Jake Elliott's way. Jake Elliott wanted to change, right? And so what?
I mean, you want to talk about greatness? You do all this stuff on Saquon Barkley. You don't talk to the greatest quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah, Tom Brady was not in the building tonight. All right, but no. Look, Tanner McKee, as Jordan Mailata said, the secret's out about the Mormon missile.
Well, and he helped the running game. Saquon needs to give Tanner McKee credit. He was much more successful as a runner in this game with Tanner McKee.
Yeah, the offensive linemen were talking there. They actually said that they thought maybe we can when I say we, this is them talking. Maybe we can get Saquon the record right now, right? They were thinking that because, like Jordan said, they know Nick's going to be thinking about this week. They didn't know what the plan was for next week against the Giants. Jordan said we don't know if it's the Saturday game. That could factor into things. So he's like on the field. The offensive linemen were like, let's try to get him the record now. And then when he got 2,000, Lane kind of made it sound like 2,000 was the number that he was going for.
I think that's what they were.
Jordan made it sound like they were thinking for the Dickerson record, but Lane was like 2,000 is a huge deal. He played with the leading rusher his rookie year. He didn't know if he would have the chance to do that again. 2,000 is a number that means a lot to the offensive lineman. He's like, Eric Dickerson did it in 16 games. You can't take anything away from that. Now, Dickerson did it with more carries, from what I understand, right?
Like
so,
more carries,
correct, 38 more.
Yeah. So
but
that's
it's
still
not.
What do you guys think?
If you want to take the carries down, it's still not the highest yards per carry. He's fourth of the 9 2,000-yard rushers.
He's 13th all time in scrimmage yards, but if he got 150 next week, he can move to third all time in scrimmage yards.
Hey, let me ask you this, Zach. Do we talk about who won a Super Bowl in '84, or we talk about Dickerson's record in '84?
If you were a fan of the team,
great question.
We talk about Eric Dickerson's record.
Great. That's a good point. That's a really good point. And look, I think that the part of this is if they play their guys and someone gets hurt, if this is like Wes Welker in that week 17 game, right? Then that's all anyone's talking about. And it casts this cloud over the team during the playoffs. The flip side is if he gets it, you stay healthy. You have this year that is historic, like the 30-year record lasts that long because it's hard to do. And you don't know if you're on the doorstep of it. I mean, no one's ever done 2,000 yards twice in a season until maybe Derrick Henry this year, right? So when you're this close, look, I understand that I'm a narrative guy. I get it. Guilty as charged. I want him to play next week. I mean, it's so cool. Like it's to witness history against his former team. Don't play scared. You're going
to get
hurt. You can get hurt any week, right? There's no such thing as a meaningless game, in my opinion.
I would say this though. I'm all for if Jalen plays, but if Hurts ain't playing, then nah. Everybody says.
Yeah, I think you got to play Jalen because you got to showcase him for the offseason. What do you think the Eagles could get for him in return?
Well, no, but to your point, both these backups aren't coming back next year. I would be, I think that, and I'll defer to Fran. What's that?
Strong.
That was very strong. That was so funny the way it was like an
I think they're going to. I think they're going to trade one. I think they're going to trade Kenny or they're going to trade Tanner. I don't think they bring both of them back next year. I think that there's going to be a market there. Now, I would imagine there's more of a market for Tanner than for Kenny. But because there's 2 years left on Tanner's deal at a lower price, whereas Kenny was going into the last year of his deal next year, assuming a team doesn't pick up the 5th-year option. But I think that there's value here with these quarterbacks. I'll defer to Fran, but this isn't a loaded quarterback draft class, right? There are teams that are outside of the top 10, let's say, and who, if they're looking for a bridge quarterback, you can do a lot worse than Kenny Pickett next year. Now, we'll see, but no, because a team's going to have to decide: are you paying, $15 million for Justin Fields in free agency, or are you going, or would you rather trade a fifth for Kenny Pickett, right? And that's a conversation that I imagine teams are going to have.
All right, you're breaking it down. I like it. All right, Zach, give us a little pitch on what you're going to be, how you're going to put some words together, maybe form some sentences, and go from there on all PHLY.
This is one of those days. Yeah, this is the tough one because there's more stories than hours, right? And so you write multiple stories off a game like this, but you have to decide which one goes up first. Do you go Saquon first? Do you go NFC East / quarterbacks first? Like, is Saquon better as the next day story here? Or do you go with, the quarterbacks came in relief, they clinched the NFC East. You kind of do like that big picture story, and then you focus on Saquon next. And then on Tuesday, you come back with CJ Gardner-Johnson perhaps. But then also I had this story that's going to work out great this week, which is Saquon Barkley's appreciation for the history of running backs, right? So there's a number of stories that I have. So I think I'm going to try to get 2 stories up tonight, which would be NFC East / backup quarterbacks and Saquon Barkley, and then follow up with a few pieces this week. If my wife is watching this, she's probably rolling her eyes right now. It's New Year's Eve. It's New Year's Day. The kids don't have school this week. I probably have to help a little bit more around the house this week. But, man, I mean, you're only going into a Week 18 game like this.
But they go to the back burner. I got a job to do.
Got the rest of my life with these kids.
Look, you got to strike when the iron's hot, right? There's interest this week. If you're not a diehard, this is the time to be a diehard. We got. I mean, Fran's pieces are worth the price right there. All right, you're going to have Les Bowen turn something around Tuesday afternoon. I imagine. I have a few good pieces that I've been kind of holding. I have a interesting piece coming up on Sirianni soon. I have a piece coming up on Jordan Mailata soon that I've been sitting on. So I have some good stories coming up here. You can only read that on allphly.com.
Hey, Zach,
and you have to be
quick.
a diehard because. Yeah,
Vinny mentioned it earlier. Sirianni's not really talked about as a Coach of the Year candidate. You think he should be?
Yes.
A candidate, absolutely. Now, I think Kevin O'Connell's going to win it.
Yeah, I agree.
I get it, right? If you go by the Vegas over-unders and you look at what the Vikings were expected to be and what the Vikings are, and the fact that they're doing it with Sam Darnold, I think O'Connell has a good case for it. But absolutely, like, Nick Sirianni you consider what the conversation was back going into the season. You consider what the conversation was in week 4. And you'd look at, or I should say week 6 rather, and week 4 and week 6. You look at them now, 13-3, at worst the number 2 seed, winning the NFC East. And by the way, not just like beating teams, dominating teams. There's 2 games against the Cowboys this year, 34-7 and 41-7. Mm-hmm. Cowboys won 4 or 5 coming into this game.
Here you go, Zach. Entering the half of the first game, they've now outscored the Cowboys 68-7 in the last 90 minutes.
Yeah, and like today was the most points they scored in the first half in the past 2 years. They did it with their backup quarterback. He replaced both his coordinators this offseason. I mean, I think Nick's done an outstanding coaching job this year. There's this thought that like anyone can coach this team. There's a lot of talented teams who are not going to be in the postseason. I mean, Joe Burrow might be the best quarterback in the NFL right now. They're fighting for a postseason spot. San Francisco's a roster. San Francisco.
I'm a little tired.
San Francisco's roster.
He's got like 46 touchdowns and 8 picks.
Yeah, I know, but like
San Francisco's roster is loaded.
Stinks.
But he doesn't.
Yeah,
better than Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes.
I think he is.
Yeah,
the 49ers had the same Super Bowl hangover that the Eagles had, right? They're not in the postseason. You can go on down the list. I mean, Nick Sirianni, he's coached 4 years. He's been in the playoffs all 4 years. He's won the NFC East twice. He's had double-digit wins 3 of those 4 years.
Talk that talk, Zach. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I said this on the show. Someone said, like, Zach, you're a Sirianni defender. I'm like, I'm not defending Sirianni. I'm just putting out his record, right? His record is defending him, right? I mean, you go 13-3, you win the NFC East, you go to Super Bowl your second year, you go to the playoffs 4 years in a row. Look at the coaches who've gone to the playoffs 4 years in a row. And the idea that like anyone can coach this team, well, he's the one who coaches this team, right? And so, it's you hear the same thing about Jalen Hurts, that like anyone could play quarterback. I mean, look, you're judged based on what you do, and Nick Sirianni wins a lot of games in this league, and that's
he yells at a lot of former franchise icons.
Yeah, so like I'm gonna make a point that I made a few weeks ago. Like, while you're focused on whether his kids are sitting on his lap in his post-game press conference, what he's doing is winning football games, right? He's won 12 of his last 13 games. Is that right? Or 11 of his last 12 games, whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's hard to do in this league. The last coach to go to the playoffs 4 years in a row here was Andy Reid. And last I checked, Andy Reid's going to Canton, Ohio one day. And he was going to Canton, Ohio. So, yeah, I mean, this conversation started with Coach of the Year. I don't have a vote. I would vote. Well, I think I don't exercise my my voting, but for that, I exercise my voting elsewhere. I don't vote on awards because because I don't think that like I'm so hyper focused on the Eagles. I always say this with like all with like the all-pro voting. I'm not watching every team in the league as much as I'm watching the Eagles. I'm watching games that are like, I don't have a frame of reference on who the best left tackles are that I would want to have to to say with authority that this guy's the best left guard in the league. I would say for Coach of the Year, I would give it to Kevin O'Connell based on what the Vikings were expected to be going into the year and what they are now. But Nick Sirianni should absolutely be in that conversation.
Sounds to me, Zach, like this is the week that Reed learns how to transcribe.
My life would be a lot easier if Reed knew how to transcribe. All right. Maybe.
Would you use AI to transcribe for you?
So I have an app on my phone that does it, but they screw words up. And look, if I have a bad transcription in a story, then I can't blame AI. It's my name on the story, right? So I
can't rely on technology.
Yeah.
Once again, you won't lose your job to AI. You'll lose your job to people who know how to use AI, right? And so it can help me transcribe.
It's not doing the job. It's the perfect example of AI. It's doing a bad version of a real person doing the job.
It's doing it's saving me time because I can go through with like 70% of it accurate, and then change word, change, and I can use it to make sure. And I imagine in 2 years, and 5 years, and 8 years, and 10 years, they'll continue to get better at it. Just like
continues to kill the planet.
I mean, this conversation has deviated so far from when I came on to discuss.
Zach, we got a question from the chat. They wanted to get your comment on Jimmy Carter's passing. Former president.
It's very sad. Yeah, no, I'm aware. You're catching me off guard here. A man I respect, a good man who's helped a lot of lives throughout Georgia and throughout throughout the country. So I was once on a flight.
Just so you know, this was Fran. I had nothing to do with this.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, my condolences to Jimmy Carter's family, and
they're big fans of the show.
So yeah,
sickos all of them.
I will start there. So I was on a flight in 2008 from Atlanta to Tallahassee. And I was connecting Charlottesville to Atlanta to Tallahassee. I was covering a game against Florida State. It was the last week of October. It was actually the weekend. It was the weekend of the World Series, the Phillies World Series. And I sat next to a guy, and I struck up conversation with him. And it turns out that he's actually an Eagles fan. I said I was from Philadelphia, and he asked me where I was watching the game the next day, and I was like, I'm just going to find a sports bar in Tallahassee. And he's like, why don't you come over to my house? I have my kids are coming in and that kind of thing. And I was like, sure, I appreciate it. And so I go to this guy's house, and I remember talking to my brothers, and they're like, what is wrong with you? You're going to rent dude's house and you sat next on a plane? And I said to them, so this is the title. And I said to them, I said, do you guys know when Jimmy Carter was running for office, he used to stay in people's houses on the campaign trail. It was like his way of like connecting with the everyday Americans, right? Here's this peanut farmer who is going from city to city and he's staying in people's houses. I was like, this is what Jimmy Carter did. And my brothers were like, what does that have to do with going to a guy's house? But,
how are you alive?
I always think, what's
Please
that?
tell me you didn't eat the food.
Yeah. Oh, he had a great spread. I mean, it was like, yeah, it was real heavy Southern food. And I had a flight that I had to catch that night. So some of it I wasn't indulging as much in, but,
you probably ate the guy that he sat next to on the plane from a week before.
No, he was a very nice man. But I remember specifically saying, because I had read a Jimmy Carter or skimmed the Jimmy Carter biography at one point. I remember that anecdote of how he was staying at people's houses on the campaign trail. And so I remember using that reference as to why I'm going to this guy's house.
Wow.
God
you
bless you,
really delivered with that answer. I was not expecting that.
Fantastic.
If by chance that fan from Tallahassee is watching the show right now, please reach out, Zach at allphly.com. I would love to reconnect. You were a very nice host that day.
Is there a book he could buy, Zach?
Yeah, there's a book. There are 2 books out, Underdogs and the Franchise, and who knows, maybe there's going to be a 3rd book out in a few months.
So Zach, Reed is in the chat. If Reed was like, say, 21 years old, just getting out into the world and the universe, starting his career, would you recommend he do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think meeting people, being friendly to people, you never know where it's going to lead. I once got an internship just from the person I sat next to covering a Villanova basketball game, and then we chatted and kept in touch, and he offered me an. So it's like, right. Being friendly. Yeah, lean into being friendly. Always lean into being friendly. You don't want to be standoffish.
Interesting comment from Idiot Sandwich, Zach, who says, skimming a book is the equivalent of simulating to the end. Just wants that out there.
Yeah. That was I took a course. I'm going down the rabbit hole here. HST 346. The modern presidency was the course, and I had to do a paper, and it was on every president since Kennedy, and I was writing for the paper, for the newspaper at the time. I had a lot of I didn't have much in the paper on Jimmy Carter. I just had to get like the Cliff Notes version of Jimmy Carter, but I didn't want to use Cliff Notes, so I kind of read the pertinent chapters of the bio.
All right, Zach. We look forward to reading what you're going to write on allphly.com. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Zach, you are the man.
You're the best. All right.
What a Jimmy Carter story.
I mean, of course he was going to have something, but still.
Did not expect that.
That was very good. By the way, Vikings lead the Packers 13-3 at the half. So if that holds up,
Love,
the Eagles will have nothing to play for next week, aside from potentially chasing the record.
Josh Jacobs fumbled on the opening drive, and then Green Bay turned the ball over on downs deep in Minnesota territory, going for it on 4th down a few minutes ago.
Got it. All right, let's a few minor things that we want to hit on just to close the book on a few things that happened in this game. Bryce Huff returns, was activated for this game, played 2 snaps in the first quarter, and then came out of the game to get checked for a shoulder injury, went into the locker room, returned just to play at the very end of the game. So, it would be nice if they could add him to the pass rush rotation just down the stretch.
I mean, I think they did a good job, especially late in that 4th quarter, letting him try to get his legs back under him. But going forward, get ready for this playoff run. We're definitely going to need him down the stretch, to make some things shake.
We haven't talked about it, but Dallas Goedert also at some point, you would imagine next week he'd be eligible for return, right?
He's eligible next week, so they could call him back next week, or they could wait for the playoffs. But yes, I mean that would make a big difference.
How did you feel about Grant Calcaterra stabbing you in the back today?
It was
the first week you abandoned him in the best bets segment.
It's not the first time I've abandoned him.
Well, it's the first in a little while.
I didn't do it last week because if he's the number one tight end, the odds are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that was a hell of a play. He
It
made
was
on
a
the
nice
one hand.
catch.
Great play. Nice job. Nolan Smith, as you called out.
My guy.
Your guy continues to come on. Very nice forced fumble on that play.
For a team, I'm talking team for the team. Breakout season.
It feels like he's a forced fumble waiting to happen. Like I start to get the feeling from him that like
telling you, when he shows up to contact he shows up with vengeance.
Yeah.
I was texting with somebody before the game. They said, who's the player that has disappointed the most since the season has started, and who is the person who has improved the most since the season has started? Without question, the most improved would be Nolan to me.
Yeah, as the season has gone on, he has really come on. Zach mentioned it. We hadn't yet talked about it. At linebacker with no Nakobe Dean, there was a bit of a rotation between Oren Burks and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and then Oren Burks did come up with the forced fumble, so a good job by him.
Trot with the sack.
I'm about to say, Trot had a sack.
Yeah, sack at the end. I was happy to see that. I think it's good that they lean on some of the young
Even
guys.
though we needed this right here. I thought he was going to do it.
He didn't really like. There was like a sliding sack.
I was
He just kind of touched him down.
A sack.
Yeah. Would you have done like the full sound if it was like one where he slid right in front of you?
A sack.
First one.
Listen, when the game was over and you look at the stat column, they don't say, "Oh, he slid for the sack." They say sack.
I wanted to note that on defense, when C.J. Gardner-Johnson left this game, it was interesting that instead of Tristan McCollum, initially at safety next to Reed Blankenship, it was Avonte Maddox.
Yeah.
Now, later in the game, when they just had all backups in, they went to McCollum and Sidney Brown at safety and Avonte at the slot. But when it was first man up at safety, it looks like maybe Avonte Maddox has leapfrogged Tristan McCollum there.
Yeah, and I know Dainez was tweeting from the stands, waiting for Eli Ricks to get into the game. They said they had Ringo and Maddox in a corner.
Yeah,
and then it wasn't until later when they finally Ricks got in
and
the last few
Rodgers
plays
as well. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So that was interesting. Yeah, you saw all those backups in at the end of the game. I don't know if we've talked enough about Devontae's game. Almost 3 touchdowns.
Bro. The Slim Reaper.
Huge play and huge player in the game.
Thank
He
God
made it
he
look
didn't.
easy too.
He didn't hurt.
Yeah,
that
he
wrist.
came out of this game for a stretch in the
Taped
first
up
quarter.
and- yeah.
So that was good to see.
He should have had 3 touchdowns.
And then we also didn't talk about Britton Covey was put on injured reserve. Cooper DeJean officially the punt returner moving forward right now until if Covey even does return.
I can't imagine he does at this point.
It wouldn't be until the Super Bowl right
Yeah.
at this point. So DeJean giving you a little bit extra there on special teams, and then Sidney Brown gets tossed for like a nice WWE reversal into the turnbuckle move.
It's going to cost him some coin as a.
Finally,
I was going to say all season you've been playing with fire.
All season long, Chekhov's laptop has finally fallen.
What's the fine for getting kicked out of a game, Vinny? Not cheap, right?
It's not cheap. It's definitely over 15K. Oof. 15K, yeah. But the dude is about to jump in. Right in front of the ref. Poor ref was struggling to get up too. He was struggling to get up.
All right, let's close this bad boy out. Final thoughts. Let's assume that the Eagles don't have anything to play for next week.
Go for it.
What is the most interesting thing to you about next week, Fran?
I mean, the most interesting thing is if they're going to go for it with Saquon, but I think also as the sidecar to that is, will they want Jalen Hurts to get some action and how much action before the playoffs get here? No. Do they want him going into the postseason having not played in basically the final 3 games?
And what is your guess?
My guess is no. I think they want to play him, and so that's why I do think Saquon is going to get action next week.
Okay. How about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm in. Go for it. Get that man the record. It's 101 yards. The Giants they're gonna Olay him. They'll let him get a big chunk play. Go for it. I mean, the theater of this is great. Home with a team that turned their back on Saquon over what, like $2 million, and you get to set the NFL all-time rushing record. Do it.
I mean, that's as far as revenge goes, it's pretty spicy. It's pretty good stuff. Can you think of a wrestling angle equivalent of that, Vinny?
It's Emmy worthy. It's pay-per-view. Must see TV.
What is the wrestling angle that it would equate to?
Jalen Hurts returns with the record on the line for Saquon Barkley. Do the Eagles play them both? You only know next on Monday Night Raw.
That's pretty good. All right, very last thing. If the Eagles are locked into the 2 seed, who are you hoping that you see in the playoffs?
Not the Packers.
Not the Packers.
Give me the Commanders.
Now, if this holds up and the Vikings beat the Packers and the Commanders beat the Falcons tonight, it will be set for the Packers unless it flips again in week 18.
Yeah, I'd prefer the Commanders.
I'd prefer the Commanders.
Okay, so you'll be rooting for the Falcons tonight.
So I guess tonight will tell us, a lot. Like, okay, how much the guys will play maybe next week.
Yes,
because I don't. Yeah,
you want to go for it.
I do, but but going forward for now, y'all got me like this. You know what I'm saying?
It's tough. Listen, if you want to gas up Nick Sirianni, these are the decisions he gets paid for. These are the tough decisions.
But does he actually have carte
And I
blanche?
actually don't know if he's the one making these decisions.
I was going to say, does he actually have that?
Yeah.
That security clearance to make that call?
I
would say no.
It was funny that Zach was, as he was going through all the accolades for Nick Sirianni, he's like, he replaced both of his coordinators this offseason. I was like, wow.
I don't know if that one was his call.
Yeah, that's a fair point. All right. That'll do it for
Jason says Packers are frauds. Give me Green Bay all day.
We do have one more super chat. Chase Daniel Plainview says in 2022 Chargers, Mike Williams hurt his back trying to break the receiving record. He ended up missing a playoff game and was still 1,000 yards off. So it's a nice.
I do remember the end of him getting hurt.
Well, in fairness, Mike Williams got hurt like every other week, so he was an off-injured player. Saquon, not so much.
Well, he's gotten hurt in his career, man.
Not with the Eagles.
Not with the Eagles. Not with the Eagles.
Not with the Eagles. All right. All right. Thank you to everybody for tuning in for this wonderful episode of the PHLY Eagles postgame show. Thank you to Patrick Driscoll for joining us, the man of the hour. Thanks to Julia and Chris for making it all happen. We will talk to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Zach Berman in studio. Fran back in the action on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And on we go ahead of the regular season finale next weekend at home against the New York Giants. Will Saquon Barkley go for the record? We got a week to talk about it. So for Super Bowl champion Vinny Curry, Jamie Lynch, Fran Duffy, I'm Bo Wulf. Thank you for watching. We will talk to you later. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Evangelize about the show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.